Al Jazeera's Gold Mafia Exposé confirms Brian Kazungu's theory of primitive politics and the poverty machinery, written by Brian Kazungu. In a shocking turn of events, a series of exposés on the gold smuggling cartels by Al Jazeera have ripped the veil off the deeply entrenched and sinister economic saboteurs operating in southern Africa. The investigations reveal a twisted network of illegal gold smuggling, money laundering, and corruption festering at the highest levels of governments in the SADC region, especially in Zimbabwe. Several high-profile individuals, including a prophet and presidential envoy, Ambassador Hubert Angel, the president's niece, Henrietta Rushwaya, as well as businessmen, Ewan Macmillan, Kamlesh Patni and Alistair Matthias have been implicated. These revelations corroborate the unsettling theories presented in my book, Primitive Politics and the Poverty Machinery, https://amzn.to/3f25hii. Al Jazeera's investigations reports on gold smuggling from Zimbabwe to Dubai, unearthing the alarming magnitude of illegal gold mining and smuggling activities in the region. Moreover, the exposés also unveiled the sinister use of South African banks to launder money from the illicit gold trade, with smugglers greasing the palms of bank officials to enable their operations. These shocking reports have ignited a firestorm of outrage among Zimbabweans who are demanding accountability from their government. Zimbabwe's government, in response to these exposés, said it has initiated an investigation into gold smuggling, but many people, including political commentators, politicians and the general public, dismissed this as a mere useless political public relations stunt. In my book, Primitive Politics and the Poverty Machinery, I emphasize that politics deals with the administration of societal affairs towards enhancing interpersonal interaction for a peaceable coexistence in progressively adapting to the dictates of nature. As a way of making the subject simpler, I added that politics in general entails the creation, provision, maintenance, development and promotion of a conducive environment for a harmonious and progressive interaction of humanity in a given territory. The book, Primitive Politics and the Poverty Machinery, is written in a way that helps you as the reader to see that you are an active participant in shaping the socio-economic and political reality of your community, regardless of whether you do it knowingly or unknowingly. In Primitive Politics and the Poverty Machinery, I highlight how countries get ensnared in a vicious cycle of poverty and underdevelopment, fueled by redundant political systems and an appalling lack of accountability. I also emphasize the need for a political consciousness in every community in order to shatter this cycle and forge a brighter future across the world. Much of the shocking revelations around the Gold Mafia saga can be traced back to a leadership crisis, which usually emanates from lack of informed participation by the electorate on community and political matters. In a book titled The Practical Executive, https://amzn.to/3g4mkj5, I described leadership as the creation, provision, maintenance and promotion of a conducive environment or platform for the progressive and harmonious interaction of factors of production or for the effective utilization of resources. Leadership is a very critical element in defining and determining the socio-economic as well as political and spiritual reality of people in a given community. In the same book, I also defined management as the effective, progressive and harmonious integration of factors of production towards attainment of a set objective. As such, from these definitions, it is easier to clearly see that the prevalence of social ills such as corruption and its effects such as poverty and crime reflect on the failure to lead and manage by those who are mandated by the masses to be in charge of national resources. The appalling gold mafia exposes bolster my arguments, illustrating how corruption and illegal activities perpetrated by the powerful elite perpetuate poverty and underdevelopment. Such revelations also accentuate the urgency of addressing these issues, as they directly impact the lives and well-being of millions of people. The profound insights offered in my book and by Al Jazeera's exposés underscore the necessity for a new wave of political consciousness in Africa and the world at large. The recent exposés have thrust the sinister underbelly of politics and corruption in Africa into the spotlight and has thus set the onus on the people and their respective leaders to take the crucial steps to dismantle the primitive politics and poverty machinery that have shackled the continent for far too long. In order to make a lasting impact and break the chains of corruption and poverty, there must be commitment towards fostering a new generation of ethical and responsible leaders through focusing on education, transparency, and grassroots activism. It is my hope that through my literary work and the continued efforts of journalists like those at Al Jazeera, we can raise awareness on the primitive politics and poverty machinery phenomenon, and inspire people to make better political decisions, especially through informed voting. In addressing the scourge of social ills such as corruption and many other forms of crime, I strongly believe that literature and the arts industry can be a powerful tool for making the populace conscious of the effect and impact of informed political participation in their communities. For example, in my poetry anthology titled General Emeritus, Wisdom, Mysteries and Dark Sayings, https://amzn/3hc4i35, I have some poems such as The Bewitched Continent, The Evil Liberator, The Gods of Politics and The Corridors of Power, etc., which all shed light on the impact of politics in society. I therefore believe that these Al Jazeera exposes and many literary works by other authors will serve as a wake-up call, a rallying cry for those who have been silenced and prejudiced. For a better world to exist, people from across the world must not just stand idle while the primitive politics and poverty machinery phenomenon continues to undermine the well-being of humanity. The primitive politics and poverty machinery phenomenon is not restricted to Zimbabwe alone. It actually permeates the political and economic fabric of many countries across the world, and thus perpetuating a cycle of poverty and disenfranchisement for millions globally. Africa as a continent is brimming with potential, rich in resources, culture, and creativity, and thus it is the collective responsibility of its citizenry to ensure that this potential is unlocked for the betterment of its people through political consciousness, as highlighted in the book Primitive Politics and the Poverty Machinery. In the aftermath of Al Jazeera's exposés, it is clear that people must act swiftly and decisively to eradicate the primitive politics and poverty machinery phenomenon from their communities. I believe that my book will continue to fuel conversations about the primitive politics and poverty machinery phenomenon, and that people from across the world will not let these discussions fade into the background. The global citizenry must therefore keep the momentum going by encouraging more in-depth investigations, pushing for transparency and accountability, and advocating for policy reforms that address the root causes of corruption, exploitation, and poverty. People must foster a culture of collaboration among various stakeholders in the fight against corruption and poverty, and this includes governments, civil society organizations, businesses, and individuals working together to create sustainable communities. It is imperative for people to continue supporting and amplifying the voices of investigative journalists, whistleblowers, and authors who risk their lives to expose the truth, since by bringing these stories to light, they play an invaluable role in holding the powerful to account and exposing the corrupt networks that perpetuate poverty and inequality. In conclusion, the recent Al Jazeera exposes, coupled with the insights that I provided in the book, Primitive Politics and the Poverty Machinery, serve as a stark reminder of the urgent need for action to tackle corruption and poverty in Africa. It is only through collective effort, unwavering commitment, and unyielding determination that the primitive politics and poverty machinery phenomenon can be uprooted. #Gold Mafia, #Al Jazeera Expose, #Primitive Politics, #Poverty Machinery, #Zimbabwe Corruption, Uebert Angel, #Brian Kazungu, Money Laundering, #Gold Smuggling, #Political Accountability, #African Leaders, #Fight for Justice, #Africa Rising.